September 18th of the Osceola County School Board to order. I want to thank all you for being here tonight. We will start our meeting with an invocation from Mr. Todd Marcy of the Faith Baptist Church. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mr. Randy Shatira. Our national anthem will be sung by Emily Jimenez. Close enough. Sorry, Emily. Our mission statement tonight will be read by Ms. Sarah Graber, and our translation services will be provided by Ms. Belinda Reyes. So at this moment in time, I'd ask you to please silence all your cell phones or any other devices that you have with you tonight. Let me check and make sure mine is as well. It is. And then if you would all please rise. Mr. Marcy.
All right. Let's pray. Gracious Father, thank you for tonight. Thank you for each one that is here. And God, I just pray that you put your blessing upon them. Father, it's incredibly hot outside, and many of us have raced to get here. And I pray, Father, that you would help each one relax. And Father, tonight there's going to be issues that are close to their heart. Help them to be kind and gentle with each other. And then, God, tonight, I pray that you would give each one wisdom. Father, to know how to use their resources, whether it's the physical resources or human resource or financial resource. God, you give them wisdom to know how to lead our county. And God, we just want to thank you tonight. Just pause and say thanks. In your holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Very nice. Thank you. Mr. Shatira.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emily, the floor is yours.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang there, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land on the wing and the home of the
You may be seated. Thank you, Emily. Emily is a student at Gateway High School. Is that correct? That's what I have in my notes. You did a fantastic job.
The mission statement of the School District of Osceola County is inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Thank you, Ms. Graber. Ms. Reyes here? She is. She's not running through traffic today. She's here.
Good evening. My name is Belinda Reyes, and I am here to provide translation services. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Belinda Reyes. Estoy aquí para proveer servicios de traducción.
Gracias, señora Reyes.
De nada.
All right, that brings us to our positive comments, or whatever comments you would like to make from the board. I'm just kidding. No, it has to be positive, Kelvin. Sorry. We'll start with Mr. Wheeler.
Well, first off, I want to thank our facilities department. We just had a facilities update that were very well organized, very concise. We've got updates on several projects: Neo City, the New Harmony Middle School project, and the rebuild of Denjon Middle School. I want to thank everybody for what a nice job, including the vendors who were involved with that. I think they did a real nice job with it. I also want to recognize some of our board members who participated in a fundraiser in August to raise money for the arts. We did a lip sync competition as KISS, but we raised, not just us, the event raised for arts programs in Osceola County close to $70,000, which is great, which is unbelievable. They raised $40,000 last year, so we made fools out of ourselves, but to make that kind of money, we'll make fools out of ourselves again. So on that note, I will
USA.
There you go.
Mr. Soto.
Well, I don't know how positive this is. Well, first of all, I really appreciate everyone who showed up today for this public meeting. We definitely enjoy having a big crowd, and it's good to be involved. But my comment, and I think it's a positive comment, y'all know of the Voyager spacecraft, space probe, launched in 1977. It's right now the most distant object, human-made, right, that exists. And well, precisely this day, 41 years ago, it took a picture, for the first time, we have a photograph of the Earth and the Moon in the same frame. And the significance of that is that it finally put to rest all of the flat Earth theory that is out there, right? All right, maybe not, but it should have. But it has been 41 years. Today is that anniversary. And I remember as a child seeing that picture, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people were inspired by it. I certainly was. So just wanted to go ahead and mention that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. Mr. Thacker? Mr. Wesser? Good. Dr. Bates?
I just wanted to point out to the board and also to the community that we have added a special feature to our website. We've been using it since the beginning of the school year to gather inquiries and questions and concerns from folks. It's called our Insight button. Let's talk to Osceola. And the community relations team, as always, does a fantastic job in answering and responding to these concerns. We believe it's going to be able to take the place of the parent hotline and transportation hotline at the beginning of the school year. But just this week, they have added an additional site, which I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of, and it's called Keep Osceola Safe. And Miss Tammy is going to click on it. This is one more step.
That was the wrong button.
I know. It's not show. Oh, there we go.
There it is, right there.
Someone's hiding that.
This is one more step in our efforts to improve our safety and security. It allows individuals to go in, ask questions, report potential concerns or threats, or those types of things, and our team will be notified immediately of things that they could do. So it's available through our website. You just have to click a button. They can ask a safety question. They can report bullying, or they can even report a threat that we need to make sure that we get law enforcement involved in investigating right away. So this is, again, our efforts to continue our customer service and communication and safety and security, and I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to see it.
Thank you, Dr. Pace. And thank you. You got that ready, right? Okay. I'm not pointing at you yet. I will in just a second. I just wanted to read a little bit of an obituary from someone. I'll just go ahead. Mr. Pete Clemens passed away at his home on September 16th. That was this weekend. He was born on May 30th, 1927, right here in Kissimmee, Florida. He was the son of Oscar and Teresa Brunson Clemens, and he was a fourth-generation Floridian. Pete grew up on the ranches here that they owned. The Clemens family and Brunson families owned here in Osceola County and in Highlands County, and graduated from Osceola High School in 1945, where he was a basketball, baseball, and football star. He also volunteered after high school to join the United States Navy and enter in World War II. Where am I at now? Let me get. Pete was he was also arguably the most renowned Florida cowboy of his era. He won the best all-around cowboy honors at the Silver Spurs Rodeo right here in Kissimmee, a record 8 times. Nobody's even come close to that. Not only was he a legend on the rodeo circuit, Pete was also a successful cattle rancher down in the Okeechobee area, where he moved after he time serving in the military. And he was also the owner-operator of the Okeechobee Livestock Market, which is the largest livestock market in the state of Florida, one of the largest east of the Mississippi. And I say that because back in 1949, local artist Mr. Buster Kenton decided, he was inspired, it says in his obituary, to memorialize Mr. Pete's rodeo skills, and he created a cartoon character. And many of you who've been in Osceola County a long time know that cartoon character is Cowboy Jake, and he remains the mascot of the Osceola High School Cowboys to this day. So Cowboy Jake has passed away. So I just wanted to say, Mr. Clemens was an awesome individual. I had the privilege of knowing him just a little bit, and he was just a really, really neat person. So just thought tonight, since Cowboy Jake had passed away over the weekend, that we ought to say something about Mr. Pete and his contribution to this county. So rest in peace, Cowboy Jake. So with that, board, that brings us to our presentations. It's a long list on here, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm going to let Dr. Respis, Mr. Allen, and Dr. Reinhardt do their work.
Good evening, Dr. Pace and board. This is one of our most favorite nights to present to you because we get to recognize our scholars. These are our students in the district who have scored not just one perfect score, but at least 2 perfect scores on standardized tests that they took last spring. So we are very excited to have them. A couple of them were not able to be here this evening, but we're going to read their name anyway so they can see and hear it later. So first is from Eastlake Elementary School, David Long, and he scored perfect scores on the FSA Grade 3 English Language Arts exam and the Grade 3 Mathematics exam. And did David make it? No. All right. But we'll clap for him as well. Great job, David. All right, our next student is from Harmony Community School, Allison Godwin. And Allison is being recognized for her perfect scores in the FSA Grade 5 Math and the FSA Grade-Wide Science. Congratulations, Allison. Thank you. Our next student is from Koa Elementary School, Sebastian Amaya. And Sebastian is being recognized also for a perfect score in FSA Grade 5 Math and Grade 5 Science. Congratulations, Sebastian. Our next student is from Matter Palms Academy, and it's Felix Fagan. And Felix is being recognized for the FSA Grade 5 English Language Arts exam and the FSA Grade 5 Math. Perfect scores in both of those. Felix? And the last one I get to read is from Renaissance Charter at Boggy Creek, and her name is Fatima Lunglat Bandith. Yes. Did I do it? Yes. And Fatima got perfect scores. I am very excited. Did I say it right? Yes. Awesome. Fatima got perfect scores in FSA Grade 5 English Language Arts and FSA Grade 5 Math. Congratulations.
From Celebration K-8, Brian Delaney, as a 7th grader, scored a perfect score on the Civics EOC and the Grade 8 statewide science test. And Lily Rebarber from Kissimmee Charter School scored a perfect score on the Grade 7 ELA test and the Grade 7 mathematics. Congratulations. Next, from Westside K-8 is McKenna Polk, and she scored a perfect score on the Grade 7 English Language Arts test and the Civics EOC. As an 8th grader from Celebration K-8, Claudia Flores scored a perfect score on the FSA Grade 8 Language Arts Assessment and the Civics EOC. And as an 8th grader from Horizon Middle School, Lady Hurtado Martinez scored a perfect score on the Biology 1 EOC and the Civics EOC.
And we would also like to recognize a student from Gateway High School, John Nunez, for his perfect scores on the FSA 9th grade ELA and the Biology EOC.
Kind of slide to the side and we'll have a little picture. Congratulations to all of you.
You want to try to get some of these taller in the back?
Can you come up?
Yeah, this is your opportunity, parents. When you want to step in front of these two, you two step in front of, you stay, you're pretty tall. You step in front. There we go. Yeah, how'd I do? How'd I do, Dan?
Looks good, looks
I'm
good.
trying.
Looks good. Did everybody look over here? Thank you.
I just want to thank you. Oh, go ahead. Give me a I just want to thank all the principals that are here and parents that are here. Hey, give yourselves a round of applause. Congratulations. You guys are amazing kids. It's an amazing school. Thank you. What's the goal? I didn't ask you. I'm sorry.
I don't know who's.
Dr. Ryan.
You're here.
I'd have thought I might have to go back down. Okay, we've got a proclamation now, Dr. Reinhardt, for American Founders Month. Right? I like this.
Good evening, Dr. Pace, board members. During the month of September, we commemorate American Founders Month and we celebrate Freedom Week. Our elementary, middle, and high schools have planned activities relating to our nation's founding fathers and the importance of the Declaration of Independence. I was going to ask our student representative to come and read the proclamation, but he is not able to be with us this evening, so you may pretend that I am in high school. Whereas, in order to educate students about the sacrifices made for freedom in the founding of this country and the values on which this country was founded, the School District of Osceola County will recognize Celebrate Freedom Week, the last full week of September 2018. Whereas, our students will participate in lessons and special activities that recognize the importance of our founding documents and the many obstacles faced by Americans in the struggle for freedom. Whereas, to emphasize the importance of this week, school principals and teachers shall encourage activities which engage in instruction that includes an in-depth study of the intent, meaning, and importance of the Declaration of Independence. Now, therefore, we, the School Board of Osceola County, Florida, do hereby proclaim that September 24th through September 28th as Celebrate Freedom Week in Osceola County schools, and we encourage our classroom teachers, administrators, parents, and community to consider the many sacrifices that have been made to guarantee the people living in our great nation with the gift of freedom.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I've got a motion by Mr. Weissauer, a second by Mr. Wheeler. Board, is there any discussion? I'll just say this, and I've said it several times from up here. You know, President Washington, when he sent his farewell address to the Philadelphia Inquirer, saying that he was not going to seek a third term, he said, he warned in that address, and I think we should all read it and remember it, about the spirit of party and the negative effect, the detrimental effect that creating parties and having the parties have more power than the process itself was very dangerous. And I think we all kind of need to take a step back and maybe heed that warning today. And so I just want to bring that up since it is Founders Month, and with some of the stuff that's going on in the news today, which seems to have a lot to do with party and not a lot with anything else. So with that, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries 5-0. And you did a fantastic job, Dr. Ryan. Thanks.
You look like you're in high school.
Very close.
So, Board, we will now turn it over to Dr. Pace for our administrative appointments, and it's not reflected on board docs, but it is reflected on the,
On your online agenda.
3.02.
There's, right.
I don't have one on
I only have one on the board docs.
I had two on the agenda. I left out earlier, but this one.
There is an agenda posted that has two. Board, we will have two, 3.01 and 3.02. Dr. Pace?
I got it right here.
Mine doesn't have.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Booth and board members, and I apologize for the mix-up in the agenda. We do have two administrative appointments tonight. First, 3.01, I'd like to call Miss Laurel Ramsey, Jennifer Laurel Ramsey, up to the podium tonight. Board, it's my pleasure to recommend Ms. Ramsey as the new assistant principal at Liberty High School. She's held the following positions: ESE teacher assistant for DeSoto County High School, lead teacher, graduation coach at DeSoto County High School, where they made significant gains in the graduation rate, teacher and principal, assistant principal at St. Cloud Preparatory Academy. She received her bachelor's degree in business administration and a master's degree in educational leadership from St. Leo University. She is a part of the Liberty High School community because she lives just right down the road, and we're very excited to add her leadership to the team with Dr. Piccolo and the rest of the group. Board.
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, I've got it. All right, you took it out. I have a motion by Mr. Weissauer, a second by Mr. Wheeler. I have some discussion, and that's only because I happen to know Laurel. I happen to be at her wedding. I happen to know her husband since we were just little chaps running around at the rodeo long after Mr. Clemens was riding in it. But Scott and I have known each other for a long time, and Ramsey's a popular name around here the last couple weeks, and I know we're going to do something else on the agenda tonight. So I just wanted to say personally congratulations, and I know you're going to do a great job, and we look forward to getting you started.
Thank you. I appreciate, oh, sorry.
Hold on just a second. Let us approve you first.
That's right.
Board, any other comments? No, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries 5-0. Congratulations. Now the floor is yours.
I would like to thank the board and Dr. Pace. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm very excited to be working with Dr. Piccolo and the rest of the staff, and look forward to a long career here in Osceola County.
Great.
Thanks, Laurel.
Good luck, Laura.
Good luck.
And now, board members, 3.02, if I could invite Ms. Cruz up to the podium. As you all know, Misty has been serving as the assistant principal at Liberty High School. Last year, Liberty High School had our largest increase in total points for academic achievement, and a lot of that had to do with Misty and obviously Mr. Pricer and the rest of the team and the staff, but also Misty's leadership in terms of scheduling and career counseling and guidance on all those things. So we're very proud to recommend a transfer for Ms. Cruz to become the assistant principal at Harmony High School, where I know that she will ramp up that acceleration there as well.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I got a motion by Mr. Weissauer. Sorry, Mr. Wheeler, I'm going to take Mr. Thacker's second this time.
Discussion.
And discussion. Go ahead.
Misty, when you came back to the school district, I was thrilled. I knew that we were lucky to get you. We're great to have you working. It's great to have you working with our kids. And if Harmony is where you want to be, I'm glad you're going to Harmony because you'll do great with our kids wherever you go. So to both you and the woman and lady before you that just got approved, the only advice I give both of you is get to know as many of the students at those schools by their first name as you can. But you're going to be great. I'm thrilled that you're here. I'm thrilled you're moving to help those kids over at Harmony. So I'm glad you're here. You're welcome.
And next year, I'm going to have a Harmony High School student. So
Thanks for the word.
Then you will be as thrilled. Got Mr. Booth.
That's fine.
Real quick.
Oh, yes,
I just want to say, same as what I expressed to you outside, thank you for everything you've done at Liberty. Thank you for being such an important part of that community, for your leadership and your dedication to those students. I hate to see you go, but I'm also proud to see where you're headed in our community and our district, and I know you're going to continue to do great things. Harmony. So thank you for your time and service to District 3.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Board, any further discussion? No, we'll call for a vote then. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing none. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Dr. Pace, school board, and district members, thank you so much for your continued support and for the opportunities I've been given. Mr. Weishauer, I'm very proud of the work we've done at Liberty High School, and I know a solid foundation has been laid so they can continue charging to an A. And then I'm very excited about the opportunities that I have before me at Harmony High School, and I'm ready to help steer them to an A.
Look at you. I mean, we're
Go
charging
Longhorns.
on, we're steering.
So, and I'd also want to say thank you to Dr. Piccolo and Mr. Arscott from Liberty who are here to support me this evening, and also thank you to my new principal, Mr. Hickey, for being here as well. So thank you very
Did
much,
you come
everyone.
up with that, Hickey? Or?
But you're not wearing burnt orange.
All right. Is that it? That's it, Dr. Pace?
That's it.
All right, congratulations to you both. I will say this is the time coming up. We will get into our normal meeting agenda, so if you're here and you'd like to take the time to step out because you don't want to stay for the whole meeting, this is your opportunity to do that.
Well, we're fascinating.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, congratulations.
But you don't all have to leave, man. Wow.
But
So, board-
what a tremendous turnout of parents and grandparents here for
Nice
this
to meet
today.
you, darling.
That's all Ms. McKenzie.
Yes.
The whole place empty.
It was.
Hey, guys, we got empty here so quickly.
What do you do? Oh, yes, charging on and steering. That was awesome. Yes, look forward to working with you. So we do have one public comment tonight, and as everybody's clearing the building, if there is anyone else left that would like to make an additional public comment. I'm sorry? Thank you, sir. No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. If there's anybody else that would like to make a public comment, and you haven't filled one of these yellow forms out that are located on the back table as you come in the front door of the room here, please do so and bring it up to Ms. Culver at this time. You certainly don't have to, but we do request that you do that. You don't have to have it turned in prior. We request that you do it before you speak. So with that, we have one. You know who you are. I'm going to let you say your name. I know we've talked before, but it's French, right? Yes. Okay, I'll let you say it. If you'll state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Absolutely. Good evening. My name is Laura Desjans, and correct. And I live at 1021 Banks Row Street in Celebration. I have 2 little happy third graders, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Being here actually brings back good memories. The last time I was here was to receive the Volunteer of the Year award just a year and a half ago. So it's always been an honor to serve our students and their amazing teacher here. I've been also a member of the School Health Advisory Committee, or SHAC, for our school district for the past 3 years. And last year, I also received the Healthy School Hero National Award by Action for Healthy Kids for the various initiatives I implemented at Celebration K-8 to promote healthy nutrition and physical activity for all the students. I'm here tonight to discuss a great opportunity for our students' health and well-being. As some of you may know, the current Nutrition Services Director is taking on a new position as of November. She will become the Executive Director for the Power Buying Group. The Power Buying Group is a food procurement cooperative that purchases processed entrees and other processed food items for 30 school districts in Florida, including the Osceola School District. It was originally created to help smaller districts in Florida to purchase in larger volumes as a group and bring prices down. Over the past few years, however, several major school districts have made a conscious effort to leave the Power Buying Group, including Broward, Seminole, Orange, Pinellas, and Miami-Dade school districts. The main reasons for leaving the Power Buying Group were a willingness to improve food quality and variety, and an increased flexibility in purchasing food items outside of the restricted contracted lists by the Power Buying Group. For instance, Seminole District is now able to serve antibiotic, hormone and steroid-free chicken to its students. As a caring and concerned community member, I trust that the school district leadership will engage in a thorough and comprehensive recruiting process to hire a new director of nutrition services who is willing to go above and beyond for the benefit of our students. That new person will directly impact the immediate and long-term health of our 67,000 students and the future adults that they will become. Multiple scientific studies show that a healthier nutrition in children directly improves academic performance and student behavior in the classroom. I am hopeful that this recruiting process will be comprehensive, open and fair, and exempt from a potential conflict of interest with the new executive director at the Power Buying Group. Hiring a candidate with a successful track record for implementing positive change in school meals will have a significant impact on our students and the overall public health in Osceola. As our school district is going from good to great in so many other areas, let's make our school meals also go from good to great. Thank you.
Thank you. Fantastic job. And just to clarify, since I'm kind of a member of the conventional agriculture community, steroid-free, antibiotic-free, and hormone-free does not mean safer or better or free of anything. So I just want to make that clear. I have to do that every time. I'm sorry. So I just anyway, thank you very much. Ms. Dijon? Yes. Okay. All right, board, we move on to our agenda modifications. I know that I have one, and I will add under new business. But does anybody else have anything, Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah, I do. I've got to recuse myself from item 16.01 because my daughter works there, and I can't vote on that. That's number one. Number two,
okay.
Under new business, I need to talk about the emergency funding the state got and that we received for Hurricane Maria.
Okay.
That's all I got.
So emergency funding. You just want to do that under board comments?
Mr. Chairman, I will leave that to your discretion.
How about we do that under board comments?
That sounds like a grand idea.
Because it's not something we may act on?
Correct.
All right. So, board, if it's your pleasure, I would also like to add the logo redesign efforts to under new business, if that's okay with you. And the blue sheeted item as well, as presented tonight, which is to read into the record, is the approval of the request to rename Osceola High School football field Coach Henry Ramsey Football Field.
Item 17.1, under superintendent's recommendation.
Got you. Item 17.01.
I'll make
Okay.
a motion to approve the agenda with those additions and amendments as submitted.
So we have a motion. We have a motion to approve. I got it. Yes, I got it from Soto. I didn't hear you the first time, brother. I got a motion. You got to speak up. Motion from Mr. Wheeler and a second from Mr. Soto. Board, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. Any opposed? No, motion carries 5-0. So, board, that brings us to item number 14. Under Deputy Superintendent for Human Services.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item 14.01 as submitted.
Second.
So I have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Thacker to approve item 14.01. Board, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Board, item 15, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve item 15.01 as submitted.
Second.
So I've got a motion by Mr. Wheeler and a second by Mr. Soto to approve item 15.01. Board, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Somebody's got to do this one because Jay's out. 16 under regular facilities.
Motion to approve.
Okay, I've got a motion by Mr. Weissauer,
Second.
a second by Mr. Soto to approve item 16.01. Board, any discussion? No, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries 4-0 with one abstention, and that's Mr. Wheeler. he has already declared his conflict, and he will be filling out the appropriate paperwork. All right, that brings us to our blue sheeted item.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So I've got a motion by Mr. Weishauer, second by Mr. Wheeler. Board, any discussion? Everybody good? I just wanted to thank Coach Sullivan and Mr. Smith for coming in last meeting to talk about this. And I know I've talked to several other people around the community about this, and everyone seems to be excited about doing this. So, and we had it was Coach Ramsey's granddaughter-in-law here tonight to be approved. Would you like to say something, Doctor?
With your permission, sir, I thought we might read into the record the recommendation.
Sure.
Since it was a
absolutely.
blue sheeted item, which is
Sure.
unusual, but we're happy to have Dr. Campbell here. She and members of her leadership team, along with folks like Coach Sullivan and Mr. Smith, brought forward this recommendation, and that is that the Osceola High School football field would be known here on out as the Coach Henry Ramsey Football Field. Coach Henry Ramsey, who passed away in 2005, was a longtime educator and coach at Osceola High School. In fact, he was hired in 1954 and retired in 1987 after 32 years of teaching and coaching. Coach Ramsey was known for being a down-to-earth Southern gentleman who was a good coach and an even better math teacher. I know he influenced my husband's skills considerably. After retiring from Osceola High School, Coach Ramsey went on to be a pillar in the community. Coach Ramsey worked with the Silver Spurs Club and has the honor of being named the Silver Spurs Rodeo's Coca-Cola Cowboy of the Year in 1999, an award honoring his lifetime of service. It is with great pride that the principal and alumni of Osceola High School request to have the Osceola High School football field be named the Coach Henry Ramsey Football Field.
Great. I think it's fantastic. I just think it's fantastic that, Coach Ramsey was never the head football coach at Osceola High School. So really, if it wasn't for his fantastic, and not that he wasn't a great coach, he was. It was really, and I think Mr. Thacker has said this before, how much he cared about the kids and how great of a teacher he was. That really gets him his honor tonight. Mr. Weishauer?
Yeah, I just want to say I know both myself and Mr. Thacker are both alum of Osceola High School, and so it's an honor for us. I'll assume that he will approve this based on how he spoke at the last meeting. But it's an honor to approve this tonight, to be sitting on the board when we have this opportunity to do that and recognize somebody who not only made such a significant impact in our community, but specifically on the Cowboy community. So I'm honored to be a part of the process. And then additionally, I do recognize that the principal's here, and I think she wanted to give a report to the board on how good of a pancake flipper I am and how much I beat her at the last pancake flipping competition that we held at Osceola High School. Is that correct? Yeah, you're so kind. You're so kind. I yield the floor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Weishauer. So, board, we had a motion by Mr. Weishauer, second by Mr. Wheeler. Is that correct? Board, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. I want to, again, congratulate the Ramsey family and thank you to all the folks over at Osceola High School for getting this done. That brings us to our attorney's report.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item 18.01 as submitted.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Weishauer for item 18.01. Board, is there any discussion? Good. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Seeing none, motion carries 5-0. Mr. Kruppenbacher, do you have anything to report?
One quick item. Your teachers' union is currently known as filed as the Osceola County Classroom Teachers Association. Their attorney contacted me.
It's the Osceola County Education Association.
Their attorney, they are certified as the Osceola County Classroom Teachers Association. Their attorney contacted me and wants to amend their certification to be known as the Osceola County Education Association. I spoke with Dr. Pace. I see no reason to object to that. I'd advise you, the client, so that you are aware of it. Unless you have an issue or we identify something this week, my view would be that I will confirm that we have no reason
Do it to vote. I mean, that's fine with me.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just bringing it to
Just
your
need a
attention.
consensus. Sure.
But since you technically have the contract in that name, I wanted you to know they'd like
Sure.
to change the name.
Sure.
We've known them as that.
Right.
So, nothing else.
Thank you, Ms.
Good
Krumbach. Appreciate it. So, Dr. Pace,
Yes or no?
you're all good? No unfinished business. Board, I'm bringing it down to new business. So,
I gotta do this thing. No, what you're gonna say. I'll come back for it.
okay. So, board, I don't know, we went through this process about 3 years ago to potentially rebrand it, come up with a new logo, essentially. And we went through the process a little bit. We kind of saw how daunting the task would be, so we didn't kind of follow through on that process, and it kind of fell by the wayside. I brought it back up, I think, maybe in the summertime or late summer or at the end of school last year. I don't remember exactly when. Since that time, Ms. Schaefer, our Community Relations Director, and her team have reached out, literally. Ms. Cruz got us going tonight. She reached out to Reach and has Ms. Trace involved in the process and really has a process that she's created to go to the graphic design teams at each high school and maybe some of the other schools as well, to have each team, they've got a process in place where they're going to have each team submit logos, and go through the whole process. And actually, it's going to be a really good learning process for them as they go through this, and then come and make a presentation. What we need to do, board, tonight, and this is why I added it under new business, because we do need to take probably some action on it. And I know Community Relations is asking, and frankly, I'm asking because I've kind of been the spearhead of this thing. On October 11th, they have a meeting scheduled with Reach at the Reach office with all the teams that are going to enter into the contest. It will essentially be a contest between the groups of each school. They've got the plan laid out. I guess my question is there still an appetite to do this? One, if there is, who can be at the October 11th meeting? We also then would need to schedule a January meeting that would not be at the board meeting because it's already jam-packed. It would have to be a separate standalone workshop for these kids to present either on January 22nd or 29th, or we could really pick any day. That's the third thing. And so we do need to kind of to talk through that tonight, just briefly. And if we want to let it go, that's fine. If we want to continue, the plan is in place. So we just want to receive everybody's comments and see where we want to go. Mr. Wheeler?
I will withhold my comments for the rest of the board. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Soto?
Wait a second, what do you mean, Jay?
I said that I yield the floor to you for now, Mr. Soto.
You want to hear other people before you say something.
And since you guys are bantering, let me say this. The other thing that we would need to do tonight is actually, and Ms. Schaefer asked me to she gave me the homework, asked me to give you all the homework. If we decide to proceed through this process, our homework would be that we would need to provide direction, either by coming to the October 11th meeting or through email, and we would need to go and research ourselves some logos, 5 to 10 logos that we think are quality logos at school districts around the country, or any other logo for that matter, but specifically school districts. So, Mr. Thacker?
My recollection of when we did this last time was we kind of got to a spot, we had some recommendations, and I don't think we felt any of them hit the mark. And I think I may have said this before, I clearly don't know what's right or what would be a good logo, but I think I'll know it if I see it. So my only issue would be at all is if we go down this path and we don't feel we find the right thing, is we keep trying until we get it right. I don't want to have to do this and kind of settle, but I think ours could use a little modernization or change. So
those are exactly the direction that they're looking for.
Yep.
And Mr. Weishauer, before we get there, that was the other thing too that staff wanted to make clear to us, because I wouldn't be opposed to doing this, because I think it's a learning process for all the students that there is a potential that we go through this whole process, we're presented, 8, 10, 12 logos and the finished product, and we say, no, we don't like any of them. And I think those students and those folks involved in that process need to understand, if we do proceed, that could be the possibility.
Not just a question of liking, it's getting the one.
Getting the right one, correct, yeah. And I'm sure there'll be some great work, and that we may not just feel it's right. I think you phrased that a lot better, Mr. Thacker. Thank you. Mr. Weisser.
You guys have really already said what I was going to say and what I'd already expressed to Mrs. Schaefer about this. I'll be at the October 11th meeting if needed and desired. It's my pleasure to be a part of it. I think this is a good opportunity. I know that one of the things we've discussed is that the seal will remain the same, but the logo, I mean, we're still on the same track with that. The logo is all we're talking about.
I think we've discussed that this will kind of, we will create this now as our seal of Osceola County School District, but we'll kind of have a rebranding effort and kind of a freshening up of our logo. And I think just for me personally, I look at it, this is more of a great opportunity for some of our kids. Even, and I know there's some disagreement on this point that I'm going to bring up here, even if no logo is to be picked, I still think this process that these individuals, these young people will be adventuring on will be beneficial for them. Learning how to go through the advertisement, learning how to work for a company, so to speak, which would be us, learning how to work for a board of directors that may or may not essentially feel that what you present is the right direction that they want to go. So I think, and I certainly hope that they will be. But
no, I agree. And, I literally met with a graphic designer that interns for me today and went through this exact process with him of refining the work, commenting on it, saying what direction did it work. This is what I do, not daily, but regularly, weekly for sure. And I agree with you. It is going to be an important learning opportunity for our students. And, of course, the hope and expectation is that we are presented with a product that ultimately matches what we believe is the right representation of our brand as a school district, which is certainly my hope. But I had already expressed my comments previously. You guys seem to be on the same page. I'm all for moving forward. However, I will not approve something if I do not believe it's the right fit for our school district, regardless of whose feelings may or may not get hurt in the process. I'm going to do what I think is best, regardless of any of that. The other thing, too, is I know that we've talked about the implementation of it, and that's why I brought up the seal piece, because I know that we still have to make sure that the net result is that we'll remain mindful of the fact that we have a lot of collateral with the seal of Osceola on it, and we're not going to be overnight changing everything, but we'll be phasing this in and working on a comprehensive rebranding effort to align with our good to great, if you will, approach and who we are and where we're going as a community.
Mr. Thacker?
I do think can be tremendous strength in the learning opportunity of this. This is somewhat real life. People are going to ask people when they go, these students when they go to work, to do things that they don't know the answer to. So it's not like there's a right and wrong answer, and they're going to have to come up with different ideas on their own and present them, and sometimes they fly and sometimes they sink. So I think that aspect of this exercise has extreme value. I had one more question. The meeting on October 11th, are you looking for more than one school board member to go, or just one? I'm not sure what you were looking.
No, they would like all of us to be there.
Okay.
And if we cannot be there, what they would like is some written direction.
Okay. I'm willing to go too. I wasn't sure if you were looking for one.
5:30. And we will need to publicly notice the meeting.
Where? At Reach?
At the Reach headquarters in downtown
I know
Kissimmee.
where Kelly's office is. I can't make it.
Do you have any comments, Mr.
I
Woodard?
think this should take on a vigorous efforts kicking off November 21st.
Okay, so we're done with Jay. All right, Mr. Soto.
I'm just trying to remember what exactly my position was a few years ago. I don't think it's, but I'm pretty sure it was this. That the idea is, I guess the intent and the idea of the approach that you're advocating, Mr. Booth, is good. Here's the thing. I mean, if we were talking about a logo for maybe even a school, I think that allows for a lot of flexibility to try these, approaches. But I think that my opinion back then, and if it isn't this, I'd be surprised, is that the development of a logo for the organization is very, very important. And companies and organizations go through a lot of expense, a lot of critical thinking to coming up with a logo. It's just not something that you say, okay, students, show me what you got, and we're gonna get it from there. It has a very low probability of really yielding anything. Can it? Who knows? I mean, if you're gonna make a decision of what you like, certainly it'll work. But if you're gonna make a decision as a board, thinking about does it meet these objectives in representing a county, a school district, with the kind of budget that we manage and the number of people that work here and a community that's so diverse, I'm going to tell you right now, it probably won't. But you know what? This board does things kind of sometimes different than conventional. If that's the route you want to take, I totally understand it. I would advocate that if we do want to change this logo and everything, that we take a professional approach to it. I think that's what I said. I'd be different if I didn't. That's how I feel now. Because a logo is just one of those things that goes into the heart of what it represents to the district and the public at large. If you want to continue with this exercise because of all the benefits that you mentioned, which I agree with, maybe there's logos that we need for schools or something else. But for something like this, I would take a different approach. And I just wanted to share that view so that you could think about it. Maybe you say, no, Kelvin is crazy. It's fine. But I just want to put it on the record.
Well, I always say, for the record, Kelvin is crazy.
I don't say that.
Hey, Mr. Wheeler, you like something?
Yeah, it is. I want to first say, well, Mr. Sutter, you got me thinking. And what I got thinking about was, it's okay, it's dangerous, I know. We have over 65,000 amazing students in our school district, and that's really what we're talking about right now, is engaging our students in something like this. And Mr. Soto, you bring up a point relative to convention. When a company goes and does a logo, there are steps they go through, and they do hire professionals, et cetera. But one of the beauties with our students is we've got all of these students who don't know what can't be done. So they don't know that a company does it this way or does it that way. And when you get somebody doing something that doesn't know what can't be done, that's when you get a lot of real greatness. I mean, and I can speak from experience. I've hired people before in business who had great experience in the industry I hired them for, and then people with no experience. The people with no experience didn't know what couldn't be done, and they achieved because they weren't stuck with convention. They taught me things, so I think that it could be great value. And I think one of the real lessons in this is, to the point of the board, if something's not right, you're not going to pick something just to pick it. Life isn't fair either. And so, if you do a good job, it'll be recognized. If it's not up to the standard that is yet to be determined what would be right, to Clarence's point, he doesn't know what the right logo is, but he knows when he sees it if that's it. I mean, there's some value in that. So, but I think that our students have got greatness in them, and if this brings out greatness in one student, I think it's worth it.
Okay, so it looks like we have a majority who are ready to proceed forward. So, Ms. Schaefer, we're going to do that. Here's what we need, though, board, and I know that they have, and I had a conversation with Ms. Schaefer today, an intense conversation about how we move forward on this. If we want this to be successful, and we certainly do, but also understanding that it may not be, as Mr. Soto and I've said, and Mr. Weisshire, everyone up here has said that. We need to make that clear at the beginning of this process, and I think that's what we do at the meeting on October 11th. But Ms. Schaefer, and I'm requesting it now as well on her behalf, and I agree with her, we need to have some direction that we give them. And that direction needs to be in the form of artwork that you already like, 5 to 10 logos, or at least descriptions. And if you do submit some artwork that you do like, that you put why you do or don't like. If we can commit to that, and I know we have 3 board members committed now to coming to the October 11th meeting, and I'm sure we'll get Mr. Soto as well, even though he's over here looking at logos with Mr. Wheeler right now. I want you to share that page with me, by the way. Then we will move forward on that, board. Good? Okay. So we're done with that. That brings us to board member comments, and we'll turn it over to Jay.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wheeler, excuse me.
It's okay, Mr. Chairman. Board, we have received $4.9 million in funding for our, for what's considered emergency funding for Hurricane Maria expenses. There is more money at the state level available. I have consulted with several people, and including Dr. Pace and including Mr. Kruppenbacher. I think that one of the strategies to get more of those dollars. There's 47 more dollars that the state's holding on to that we're not going to get all, but there's a proportionate share. And Dr. Pace and I talked. We don't know what the right number is, but 4.9 million wasn't the right number. There's more money that we should be getting. But in order to accomplish getting whatever that right number is that we still need, I have been coached through by, quite frankly, our U.S. Congressman, that we should vote on a resolution, a unanimous resolution, what those dollars are, what their shortfall is for, what we need them for, be it classrooms, teachers, supplies, et cetera, whatever that metric turns out to. And I guess I can't imagine anybody on this board wouldn't like to see more of those dollars come to us. It's also in our best interest to co-opt some of the other districts that can get that qualify for those dollars. I've talked with our lobbying team about it. They're doing a conference call. We just happen to have a board member who's president of the Florida School Board Association, which is not a bad perch to have relative to this as well. We want you to bring home more money, Tim. So I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but I think that that's good coaching, and it's something very definitive that whoever is fighting that battle on our behalf, they've got a unanimous vote from the school board that we need X number of dollars out of the X number of dollars that's available for A, B, and C, and we already got this money, and it wasn't enough. So, it made sense to me. I don't know how the rest of y'all feel about it, but I look at my job. If we can get our hands on some more money, let's get our hands on some more money.
Mr. Weishaupt?
Does anyone here currently know how the decision was made for the distribution and allocation of those funds, and can enlighten me a little bit on that? Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I can try to address that, and Sarah can chip in if she wants to. Basically,
chime, whatever.
The dollars were allocated proportionally to the amount of state revenue that districts get. So because we get a larger percentage of our revenue annually through the FEFP formula from the state because of our property tax base, they kept a larger percentage. So our allocation was over 14 million, and we're getting to have 4.9 of that to cover the expenses that we had last year, as well as ongoing impact. One of the suggestions that I shared with Mr. Horner this afternoon when we talked a little bit about some things that he might talk about tomorrow, because he's going to be talking with Broward County, Orange County, and I believe Polk. Polk had a significant impact as well in terms of what their dollars received were, but districts that had minimal impact in terms of student enrollment are receiving or keeping as much or more of their allocation as we were able to keep because of our funding situation. So I think there are two angles that you could potentially approach, and he will certainly discuss more, but one of those is the compression formula that they used in last year's FEFP calculation, which recognized the impact of the property tax base on local districts and gave some additional consideration to districts with a lower percentage of local funding. And then the second piece would be this. As you know, we're about 1,400 students under projection. Now, that was last week, not this week. We ended the school year with 2,000 students still with us from the island of Puerto Rico. We based our budget and our projections and our allocations on the fact that we were going to have that number of students stay with us in the district. We knew it was nebulous, but that was the feedback that we were getting. Instead, we're down to about 1,200 of the students from the Hurricane Maria. We still are serving them and serving them with excellence, but we added additional ESOL resources, an additional contract with TNTP this year to help improve our ELL instruction, to help these students be successful as well as all of our other students. So there's that additional impact that wasn't on just last year's budget, but also is on this year's budget that I think could be taken into consideration. So those were the two avenues that I saw that we could potentially use in terms of an advocacy position, but certainly they can talk about more, but that's kind of the angle.
So was that 4.9 the proportion that is derived from non-state allocated funds to FEFP? That's how they derived that 4.9 of the 14.4?
Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was that we get 64% of our FEFP dollars come from the state, so they kept 64% of the amount that we would earn with their allocation for the students that we serve throughout the year.
Did they provide any other
Exactly
reasoning?
that proportion of how much
So we
does
got
each
36%.
district collect in their own local property tax values versus what's coming through the FEFP?
Hold on just a second. Mr. Thacker?
I mean, I guess I'm pretty simple. Am I understanding that basically poor districts who do not have high property values are punished through this formula, and the state keeps our money?
Yes.
That's the way the formula
They
works.
don't
It
see
continues
it that
to
way.
Greatly
compound that
impacted.
property
Somebody
tax
explain to me
value
the
issue.
logic of why that's not
Clarence,
correct?
It isn't correct. Logic doesn't apply. Yeah, I mean, requesting a logical explanation in itself is illogical because there's no logic to it. So I think what we really, I think,
Look at that shirt.
I think what we really, yeah, well, I think what I've been in government a long time, Tim. I think what we really need, though, is do we have a head nod that we should have a resolution and let Dr. Pace and Sarah and Mr. Kruppenbacher wordsmith it so they can bring it back to us for something we can vote on. That's what it really comes down to.
I'd be for that. I would like if there's any, and Sarah, maybe you know, and I thought Mr. Thacker might get to this, but what did they put out any reasoning, I guess?
No.
From the state that said this is why we are keeping this?
Estimate the state.
Because essentially the money was allocated on a federal level to go directly to the districts that were impacted. So what is the reasoning behind it?
This was actually done through the Emergency Impact Aid federal grant program. So there are guidelines and formulas as far as what the state is able to hold back.
Well, we want to grab this one.
There's some wiggle room in the formula, but there are guidelines that allow the state to have done this calculation.
Sarah, is the state using the logic that they already gave us so much money because of the impact, they're going to reimburse? But did they give us any money?
The money we got through the FEFP program last year for these students, it's designed to replace that money.
Right. That's their rationale.
That's the rationale.
That's the rationale.
FTEs, which if they would have come from,
We got hosed.
That's what I meant, yeah.
We got
if
hosed.
they would have just moved here, we would have gotten that money.
Yeah.
The state doesn't see that, but we got hosed.
Okay, Mr. Weishauer?
Let me try to get back to my question because I'm on this now. So let me go back to Mr. Wheeler's point first. I don't have, by any stretch, I don't have a problem with looking at approving a unanimous support from the school board to go after it. My hesitation, if any, is I want to make sure what it is that I'm approving, what methodology we're using to justify that. So as I sit tonight, is it, yes, I want to make sure that the due diligence is put in from the staff to analyze the variables associated with the federal grant program and the dollars that the state's holding back, and then present to me and us as a board the methodology by which we intend to make this argument. If the methodology, in my opinion, is sound and rational, of course I support that. Do I want more of the money because do I believe that Osceola County was affected more so than many others and probably deserves more of the money? The answer is absolutely yes. But before I say yes, carte blanche, I want to see what it is that I'm approving and what the methodology rationale. It is. That's why I'm just saying, like, for me, 2 steps. Go ahead, I'll yield now.
Okay, and I appreciate. I mean, you're kind of peeling back the onion, but you're saying it a different way. It's the same thing. I mean, when I talked with Dr. Pace and I talked with Mr. Kruppenbacher and I talked with Mr. Horner about it, I said, look, Mr. Kruppenbacher said language isn't a problem. The issue is that Dr. Pace has to come up with the metrics and what those numbers are to plug it in. And once we have that, then we got something to look at. And then, to your point, we ask questions. Okay, why is it for this versus that, or why is it here instead of there? But until we see it, to your point, it's difficult to say, well, what is this and what isn't that? I mean, so, yeah, I mean, hopefully they can get us something sooner rather than later so we can flesh that out and vote on it sooner rather than later so we can go after that money.
Mr. Weishar, you raise a very good issue. The key to this resolution is laying out in the resolution the logic and analysis that leads you to the request, so that when the people that read it, they can't discount what it's based on.
Sure. Thank you.
You almost have to educate them in the resolution.
Right.
To the
Seems
conclusion.
to be an immense logic in keeping the money away from the students in Tallahassee to me.
When we say they, are we referencing DOE? Is that what we're referencing when we say they? Is it the Florida Department of Education?
The calculations did come from Florida Department of Education. And board members, you can look back through your email. I sent you the information that we got from Linda Champion, and that's really the only information that's come to us in print. Ms. Graber has made some calls. I've had some conversations with other superintendents, and so that's how we've begun to understand the rationale.
Okay.
As of right now, from everything I've looked at, this is an executive branch controlled issue at this point.
Sure. And that's what I want to make sure I understood, is that as it stands now in the bureaucracy, there's been a decision that's been made that this is how the allocations based on the understanding and implementation of the federal grant shall be allocated across the state of Florida, but we've not engaged the legislative side of this conversation yet, apart from the U.S. congressmen that have been helpful in moving this forward to get the dollars to Florida as a whole.
He's
in the first
frustrated.
place.
They held back so much money
Right.
from us.
One of the things, Dr. Pace, if we could find out from the one question I had that I haven't been able to get an answer yet on is, did the state board ever vote on this allocation? Or was this just an administrative staff decision, here's how the money's going to go?
Right.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And then my other question is, as far as the allocation is concerned, I know, like, I was looking at I think it was the Orlando Sentinel article that talked about Seminole, Orange, Osceola, maybe Polk, I don't remember who all was in there. Did every district in the state of Florida receive funding? Or is it just districts that reported an impact?
20 or 30.
It was based on the number of students that we served, and what we had to do was to go back and provide a count at 4 specific time certain points during the year. Usually, there's the traditional 2 FEFP, FTE periods, October and February. They went back and they did 4 specific times, which you said, how many students do we have today? How many of them are ELL? How many of them are ESE? And then there was a weighted formula to determine the district's total allocation. I also would just remind the board that some of those dollars will be going to the charter schools, who also serve some of the students from Hurricane Maria. As I shared with you throughout the year last year, the largest majority of those students enrolled with district schools, but there are some, and the charter schools will earn their per student share for the students that they served. Sarah's team has to do those calculations.
And as they should. Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Weishar.
I'll conclude by saying, obviously, I want the staff to continue to move forward in analyzing it. I want to make sure I understand the rationale, and the rationale needs to prove a true justification of what it is we're going to ask for. And this is not a single item issue. This is part of our overall strategy of communicating both with the department as well as with the legislative delegation about the changes that need to be made in the way that we deal with funding when it comes to districts like Osceola County. And if we can't put together sound methodology, analysis, and rationale, we're undermining ourselves in the long run. So I support where we're going, and I want the research to support it as well.
Sure, absolutely. I guess what I would say is that are we chasing $50,000 here? Are we chasing? No, I know we're chasing $9 million or whatever it is, but I mean I don't think we're ever going to get all of it. So are we chasing?
You got to look at this resolution 2 ways. One, you're chasing whatever can be justified to be asked for.
Sure.
But you're also educating people on the funding formula is incorrect.
Sure.
Because you can't let that resolution look like you're okay with the way the funding, because somebody will pull it out down the road and go, what do you mean you have a problem? Right here, it looked like you were okay with it.
Yep. No, so thank you, because I think that's right where we needed to go. And then my last comment on it is I certainly do not believe the spirit of the bill that passed, sending this money to Florida, was to have the state keep 65% of the funding from Osceola County, one of the counties that had the greatest impact.
Mr. Booth,
So I certainly know that's not. Just a second, Mr. Wheeler. I certainly know that that's not the case from the folks who passed this in Washington D.C. And so I would hope, I would certainly hope that they would take that into account, but we know how that goes.
I
So-
got an
Could you turn
earful
this back
from
on?
Congressman Soto, who basically, with much more passion, felt the same way, that the money wasn't gotten to sit in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I know. Okay, Mr. Weiser?
Mr. Wheeler, I'm going to come to you with this because I think you'll know more so than myself or maybe the other board members. Is there any efforts at the federal level to address this as well? Does Congressman Soto, as an example, have any type of way of dealing with the grant and how the language was implemented beyond what their actual intent was?
No, because there was never a thought in a million years that the money was going to be distributed to the state for specific school districts with a holdback. So they did their job was to identify how much money Florida was supposed to get it across the finish line, get the money to Florida, and then the state, at the executive level, they decided how to distribute, how not to distribute. To the Board of Education wasn't involved, the legislature wasn't involved. It was from my perch, it was relatively arbitrary. I mean, I understand the justification that they used, but that's baloney.
Is there currently, if you may, is there currently a bipartisan delegation of the United States Congress that's unifying behind school districts like ours to lend their voice and their position to this conversation at the
Not
state
really. They
level?
feel like they got the money, they got it across the finish line. I mean, they feel like they did their job. They're frustrated, but they've moved on to other things because the money's now in Florida, which was the goal.
Your dialogue raises something that we need to try and get a hold of, and that is the state of Florida had to submit something. Because I remember when the governor was saying, keep track of all your expenses and everything. So some request had to be made to Washington that we should try and get our hands on when we put this together to figure out what did our state say to Washington. Because you don't know what they represented. And and I don't trust that somebody in Tallahassee who got the money ever read what got requested. So I mean, if you want to do what you said, you follow the thread from start to finish to figure out, is it seamless or is there a bump in the road that helps us?
I'm in support of moving forward with performing the research that's needed so we can make an informed decision on our approach and request.
Yep, that sounds, I'm with that, board. I think we have consent to do that, so. Is there anything else, board? Stand adjourned.